What's up, guys? I'm Sal here, back with some Magic the Gathering content. Today, we are talking about the talent cycle. So this is a commander-only cycle. And basically, it is enchantments that can enchant Planeswalkers, and they are freaking awesome. So I had to make a video to talk about them. So, disclaimer, every single one of these cards I'm going to talk about is insanely strong in Super Friends. They all fit in there great, except for maybe Vivian's Talent. I'm going to go from, in my opinion, the worst one to the best one. And the first card I want to talk about is Vivian's Talent. So Vivian's Talent is one of any color and 2 green for an enchantment aura. It has Enchant Planeswalker. Enchanted Planeswalker has +1. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or a land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Enchanted Planeswalker. So the non-token part of the last ability really hurts because Planeswalkers are so good at making tokens. So many of them generate them. So it's really a shame that you have to play real creatures for the loyalty bump. And I've been looking at a lot of green Planeswalkers and it doesn't seem too strong. The +1 is good at finding creatures to play them and get the loyalty counters, but it's not like insanely better than the abilities these guys already have. But of course, it's one way to speed up a really powerful ultimate. I think one pretty good one would be to ult Freelies. Because if you're running a type of deck that wants to play a lot of big creatures, which is the deck this comes into, ulting Freelies will draw you a lot of cards and you can get there really fast. Garruk Primal Hunter is also pretty good with this because his ultimate's kind of broken, honestly. You will make so many 6/6s so fast. I think my favorite line of play is you play a Planeswalker, you tap out, they will look at your Planeswalker and think, oh, it's fine, it's not going to ult for a while. It survives, it comes to your next turn, you then put Vivian's Talent on that Planeswalker, and then you play a bunch of creatures, take your opponents completely by surprise, so you get a bunch of counters, and then you ult, and you win the game. Planeswalker that's really good with is Nissa, who shakes the world, because if she untaps, you're going to have so much mana in a mono green deck, or a 2-colored green deck, that you will be able to play a bunch of things, and then you can go straight to the ult, which would be really awesome and get every single forest in your deck into play. I think that would be really awesome. The awkward part of this card is that you need a good mix of Planeswalkers to enchant and creatures to play. And that seems pretty hard because there isn't that many Planeswalkers in green that you definitely want. And in a Super Friends deck, your uptick, the +1 here, might not be able to find creatures because your whole deck will be filled with Planeswalkers. But getting a land is still good sometimes. Sometimes you need a land. Also, you won't have that many creatures to play to trigger the last ability. Rowan's Talent is 2 of any color and 2 red for an enchantment aura that enchants a Planeswalker. Enchant Planeswalker has +1 up to 1 target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. And whenever you activate a loyalty ability of Enchanted Planeswalker, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So Rowan's Talent is significantly better than Vivian's Talent for the fact that there's so many more Planeswalkers you can have as your commander in red than in green. Tibalt, doubling his abilities would be very powerful. Duretti, same thing. Minsc Boo, you can make Boo so freaking big. Nico Bolas Ravager, if you flipped him, doubling any of these would be insane. And I think the best one at all of these Planeswalkers is Jessica, because her 0. If her 0 is doubled, you're going to deal triple twice. So with 3/3 would deal 27 damage. A 5/5 would deal 45 damage to an opponent. That's not that hard to have. A 5/5, that's not big. And the other thing that's really good is that Jessica doesn't have an uptick. This card gives her an uptick whenever she needs it. So it's absolutely crazy. So that the -X can deal so much damage, especially if it's also doubled. I also have a Saheeli deck, and I think it'd be pretty funny in here for the fact that if you get to the ult, which is really easy with her because she just upticks all the time. Once you get to the ult, you put the enchantment on her, and then she'll double your board, and then she'll double your doubled board. So she'll times your board by 4. And if you haven't won the game by then, you're doing something seriously wrong. Also, when you don't have too many artifacts, doubling her second ability to make your spells cost less could be really relevant. Now, in Super Friends, the uptick ability gets significantly worse because you won't really care about First Strike and Trample, although it is +4 +0 in First Strike and Trample, which is pretty good. But the real power is to enchant a Planeswalker and suddenly just double his abilities whenever. That could be really powerful and really game-changing, especially if you surprise plate when you're just about to ult to double it. Liliana's talent is 2 black for enchantment aura that enchants a Planeswalker. Enchanted Planeswalker has -8. Put all creature cards from all graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And whenever a creature deals damage to Enchanted Planeswalker, destroy that creature. I really appreciate that it's only 2 mana for this enchantment. It could easily been 3 or 4. And I also appreciate the synergy between the second and third ability, because the third ability, it really makes it so they don't want to deal damage to your Planeswalker. And if they don't deal damage to your Planeswalker will get bigger and bigger until it can ult. And when it ults in a commander game, unless there's some serious graveyard hate, you will get an insane amount of creatures. Normal commander game has 3 to 5, so there's a lot of cards in the grave, including your own, which you can build your deck around. It will win the game easy. There's also a bit of a non-bow with the second and third ability, because I think Liliana's talent gets really powerful when you play it and then -8 immediately. And I've got 2 Planeswalkers that can be your commander that can do this pretty well. So with Tevesh, it takes 3 turns before you can -8 and bring back all the creatures. And the best part about this is that his ult is a -10. So maybe they will not see him as a threat because they know he can't ult yet. And his +2 also makes 2 0/1s, which are really good at blocking. And Lorn Ringgrace can also do this. And a good thing about him is that he'll be at 9 loyalty on the 3rd turn when you -8, so he won't die. He'll still be on the board. It's a great way to just completely surprise your opponents. And then there's Nico Bolas, which is really good too, because his ult is -12, so they will not see the Liliana's talent -8, and he only takes 2 turns for this to work. But it's also just a really good protection spell. If you know that your opponents are going to target your Planeswalker, you put this on and it'll be a really big deterrent to attacking him. So Teferi's talent, serve any color in 2 blue for an enchantment aura enchant Planeswalker. Enchanted Planeswalker has -12. You get an emblem with, you may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you can cast an instant. Whenever you draw a card, put a loyalty counter on Enchanted Planeswalker. Now this is easily the best Super Friends talent card. If you activate that in a Super Friends deck, your Planeswalkers will be multiplied by the amount of opponents. And you can do cool things like responding to your opponent's abilities, which makes your Planeswalkers so much more flexible. If you have a couple Planeswalkers out, this will win you the game easy. Now there are a lot of Planeswalkers that draw a lot of cards. Jace, for example, his 0 draws 3 cards, which is pretty crazy, so he'll get a +3. Mordenkainen draws 2, you put 1 on the bottom. Duretti draws 2, discards 2. Primal Hunter, if you -3 with a big creature, you're going to draw so much. It is a shame that he would die first, so you'd have to uptake him before you do this. Teferi Temple Pilgrim, you would double the loyalty counters every time. Teferi Master Time could be really good because if you have a bunch of opponents, he'll be able to draw discard each of them, so he will go up in loyalty so fast. It would be kind of crazy. But the more I think about it, I think it's a pipe dream, because let's say you are in Super Friends, then you wouldn't really design your deck to draw cards. You design your deck to play Planeswalkers. So getting to that 12 -12 would be pretty difficult, and it's a 5-mana enchantment, which is a lot, and the Planeswalker you would put this on would get super targeted. But in a Super Friends deck, you would have a lot of ways to add loyalty by proliferating, by doubling season. So I think you could get to 12 loyalty, but I don't think it'll be mainly from the card draw aspect of this card. So Elspeth's Talent, my favorite one, is 2 of any color and 2 white for enchantment aura. You enchant a Planeswalker. Enchanted Planeswalker has +1, create 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, and whenever you activate a loyalty ability of Enchanted Planeswalker, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance until end of turn. So this is the talent that has the most synergy with itself. It makes a bunch of 1/1s and then it buffs them all, and then it makes more 1/1s and then it buffs them all. And the vigilance is really good when you have a Planeswalker, because that means that they will be able to block, and even without the vigilance, 3 1/1s is a lot of blockers to protect your Planeswalker. The problem I see with it is that you need a healthy split between Planeswalkers and creatures, and there really aren't that many Planeswalkers you can play that can be your commander. There's Nahiri Lithomancer. So Nahiri is all about equipment. She doesn't really care about having a lot of creatures, so she's kind of irrelevant. But Kithian isn't bad because Kithian wants a lot of creatures. So Elspeth's Talent would synergize with that because it buffs a lot of creatures. And then when he flips, it's the +1 that this gives is significantly better than whatever he's doing down here. Elementor is actually pretty sneaky good with this card. If you get a really big -3 and put a ton of 1/1 flyers, then putting on Elspeth's Talent and uptaking, all those flyers become 3/3 vigilance, which could be really powerful at dealing a lot of damage. I think Elspeth's Talent has the best loyalty ability that gives out of all the talents, easily, because if you look at white Planeswalkers, almost every single one of them, her +1 that she gives is generally better than any of their abilities. Like, look at Elspeth Knight Errant, it puts 1 down. Elspeth's Sun's Nemesis, it's a -2 and only puts 2 creatures. It is very powerful, and any Planeswalker it will enchant will probably just mainly use this +1 unless they can ult or something. And in Super Friends, this card is also really strong because a lot of Planeswalkers, they have abilities that makes tokens, that makes a bunch of creatures, so you will potentially be buffing a wider range of creatures every time the last ability triggers, which can be really powerful. But you don't necessarily need that, because on its own it's powerful enough. That is everything I have to say about the talent cycle. This cycle is absolutely awesome, and I feel like they should have done this idea way sooner, but it is very cool to finally see enchantments that can enchant Planeswalkers. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please tell me what cards you want me to review, and yeah, have a good one.